Welcome, curious listeners, to this exploration into some really nuanced insights from the Talking Ketamine podcast. Today, we're looking into something that really sits at the crossroads of deep human suffering and, well, cutting-edge science, ketamine. Specifically, we're examining its powerful but also really complex role. It's like a beacon in what one fascinating study calls the paradox of hope.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
This isn't just about, a new pill or therapy. It feels like it's about a fundamental shift in understanding resilience and the nature of healing itself.
Indeed. And for our discussion today, we're drawing heavily from a really compelling qualitative study. It's titled Lived Futures in Ketamine Therapy, a qualitative study of hope and temporality in treatment-resistant depression.
Okay.
This was defended just back in May 2025 by a team including Dr. Bridget Haas, Dr. Lee Hoffer, and Dr. Jonathan Sadowski. Their research just dives so deep into the unfiltered lived experiences of people who've really grappled with severe treatment-resistant depression. It gives us this window into how they navigate the really intense hopes and also the lingering uncertainties that come with seeking out such a novel treatment.
That sounds incredibly insightful.
Yeah.
So, okay, before we can even really start talking about hope, we probably need to understand the flip side, right?
Yeah.
The profound hopelessness many of these individuals felt. Can you sort of paint a picture for us? What were their lives like before ketamine?
Absolutely. And the study portrays this so vividly.
Yeah.
For many participants, depression wasn't just like feeling down. It was this pervasive condition that it seeped into their entire sense of self, their relationships, and crucially, their view of any possible future.
Wow.
It wasn't just feeling low, it was like a fundamental distortion of their reality. One participant, Audie, put it so powerfully, they said, depression doesn't just make you feel hopeless, it makes hopelessness feel like the only possible truth.
Oh, man, that's heavy.
It really is. Imagine that being your baseline. And these individuals, they often had decades of psychiatric care behind them.
Decades.
Yeah, trying numerous medications, sometimes dozens, often enduring just awful side effects with little or, no success at all. Each failed attempt wasn't just a disappointment. It was like another layer of erosion on their spirit, just deepening that futility.
You can see how that would build up.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
Wyatt, for instance, he'd tried at least 7 different meds. He likened it to being stuck in a dark room, just constantly flipping a light switch that never, ever worked. And Charlie echoed this, feeling completely helpless despite, in their words, doing everything right, following all the advice, trying every therapy offered, this relentless cycle, waiting for relief, battling side effects, facing disappointment again and again. It became what the study authors call a therapeutic burden.
A therapeutic burden?
Yeah, it just slowly, relentlessly chipped away at their ability to even believe recovery was possible. It created this active, almost protective disbelief in things getting better.
So it's not just that they had depression symptoms. It's that their whole way of seeing the world, themselves, possibility itself, was shaped and reinforced by just years of trying and failing. That sounds like an incredibly difficult place to start from.
It truly is. And this brings us right to the core paradox the study uncovers so brilliantly. You see, while clinicians, researchers, the media, maybe even discussions like this one, often frame ketamine as this symbol of hope for treatment-resistant depression.
Right, the breakthrough narrative.
Exactly. Hailing it as a breakthrough, maybe even a miracle drug. But the patients themselves, they often enter treatment profoundly hopeless, utterly skeptical. Their defenses are sky high after years, sometimes decades, of failed treatments and broken promises.
That's such a powerful contradiction. How does that deep hopelessness actually, manifest when they first encounter this supposedly hopeful treatment? Does it make them reluctant or change how they see any initial effects?
That's precisely the diagnostic paradox of hope the study authors identify. And it's such a profound observation. It means the very severity of their illness, the diagnosis itself, cultivates this intense, active state of hopelessness.
Active hopelessness.
Yes. As participant Ash described it, it's not just lacking optimism, it's believing things cannot get better. It actively closes off possibilities. So this ingrained belief becomes a huge barrier to actually internalizing the hope that a new treatment might offer.
Their brain is sort of working against the idea of getting better.
In a way, yes. It's been conditioned by failure. So for many, hope had become this dangerous, deceptive thing, something to be avoided, really, to prevent more pain.
Wow.
So some had approached ketamine with just this very tentative, almost reluctant optimism, like dipping a toe in the water. Others, like Remy, who had reached such a critical point they had made suicide plans. They entered treatment with literally no hope at all.
Just going through the motions.
Pretty much. Viewing it as a final concession to loved ones, maybe, a last-ditch effort they didn't truly believe in. But fascinatingly, for a few, the very controversy around ketamine, its unconventional nature.
Right, the fact that it wasn't the usual approach.
Exactly. That offered a strange kind of hope. For these people, different felt good after years of conventional failures just letting them down. It was a departure. A novel approach that, just because it was unorthodox, felt like it might just work. It was maybe less about hope and more about just possibility, because it wasn't the same old story.
That's such a human reaction, isn't it? To find some comfort in the unconventional when the conventional has just failed
Yeah.
so completely. But let's talk about one of ketamine's most striking features, its speed, the rapid effects. For someone used to that agonizing wait for traditional meds, weeks, months, how did this immediate, almost instant change impact them psychologically?
Yeah, this rapid onset, often within hours, sometimes even faster, created what the study calls a temporal rupture.
Temporal rupture.
Think of it like a sudden break from their whole previous experience of time and treatment. For years, any improvement was always this distant, abstract promise, something you waited months for, right? With these agonizing cycles of trial and error.
Yeah, the wait-and-see approach.
Exactly. Traditional antidepressants demand that long, drawn-out process, patience, gradual evaluation. Ketamine just shatters that timeline. It forces this rapid, often really disorienting confrontation with immediate, undeniable change. It's not just feeling better quickly, their entire mental framework for processing healing gets turned upside down.
So it's almost like emotional whiplash.
That's a good way to think about it. Participants who are used to enduring months of uncertainty, maybe tiny, almost imperceptible shifts, they found this sudden acceleration incredibly challenging. Reese put it perfectly, saying, "The changes came so fast, I didn't have weeks to prepare myself for the possibility of feeling better. It was happening right now, and I had to catch up to it."
Wow. So the emotional work shifted dramatically. Instead of trying to hold on to hope over time, they suddenly had to rapidly interpret and integrate these huge transformations happening right now.
Precisely. It required this intense mental effort to reconcile their long-held belief in futility with the immediate, undeniable evidence that things were changing. It's like being in slow motion for years and then suddenly being shot into warp speed.
That's a huge mental and emotional load, this rapid processing. And it makes me wonder, how did that experience, that rapid timeline shift, also shape how they dealt with another layer of complexity? Ketamine's contested public identity.
It absolutely is a huge load.
Yeah.
And yeah, that temporal shift definitely plays into how patients make sense of ketamines. Let's call it complicated identity. The study clearly shows ketamine occupies this difficult, ambiguous space, right, between its unfortunate reputation as an illicit substance.
The party drug thing.
And it's growing, but still kind of fragile, acceptance as a legitimate, even groundbreaking psychiatric treatment. This duality creates a unique challenge.
I can imagine.
Patients are acutely aware of it. They feel this need to navigate it carefully, both inside themselves and when talking to others. They found immense security and legitimacy in the medical setting.
Right. The context matters.
Hugely. Being in a hospital surrounded by doctors, nurses, monitoring equipment, that environment was a crucial legitimizing factor. Remy, for instance, who initially wondered if it was even legal, found a reassurance there. They said, "I'm in a hospital, this is really happening, and it's happening here, so okay." The clinical context acted as a powerful counter-narrative to the stigma.
That makes perfect sense. The setting provides a reframe. But what about that broader cultural stigma? I mean, many listeners will have heard ketamine called a party drug or seen media reports like the very public discussion around Matthew Perry's death recently. How did that wider narrative affect these patients personally?
Oh, it impacted them significantly. It often led to feelings of defensiveness, this need to constantly justify their treatment choice. Tarley's words really capture this conflict. Some people talk about ketamine like it's some kind of party drug. Here I am using it as a serious medical treatment, and there are people out there using it for fun.
Yeah, that disconnect must be jarring.
It really is. It led to this profound sense of needing to explain themselves, to emphasize the seriousness, the medical necessity of what they were doing. They'd often proactively highlight the controlled medical setting, you hear that phrase a lot, as proof of its legitimacy and safety, almost like a shield against judgment, which is a heavy burden to carry when you're already in a vulnerable space seeking mental health treatment.
Absolutely. That really brings home the human side of this. So with all these layers, the deep initial hopelessness, the rapid effects, the societal stigma, what does this all mean for hope itself? Did ketamine, despite that initial paradox, eventually allow patients to redefine hope, maybe find a more sustainable version.
That's a crucial question, and yes, the study highlights a truly transformative shift for many. For a lot of them, hope had become, as you said, dangerous. It was tangled up with past disappointments, the weight of failure, something to guard against.
Right.
But with ketamine, some participants developed what the study insightfully calls evidence-based hope. Wynne articulated this beautifully. Evidence-based hope to me means I can point to tangible changes. I'm sleeping better. I enjoy my morning coffee again. I'm making plans for next month.
So concrete things.
Exactly. These aren't just feelings, Wynne continued. They're measurable improvements. Now my hope is grounded in real results. It wasn't a return to some naive, wishful thinking. It was more mature, resilient, built on concrete, observable changes in their daily lives.
It feels much more solid.
It does, and it allowed them to engage with their recovery differently. They also learned to handle uncertainty. Before, uncertainty was often paralyzing. It stopped everything. After treatment, uncertainty didn't vanish, but it shifted. It became something they could tolerate, maybe even an openness to change, as participant Sam described it. This shift was key. It allowed possibility to function as a way of thinking about the future, even when full-blown hope still felt too raw or painful.
So they could sit with the unknown without it crushing them.
Precisely, finding some agency even in the gray areas.
That's incredibly powerful. Moving from hope as a dangerous feeling to hope as a verifiable fact, grounded in evidence, and from paralyzing uncertainty to an openness to possibility. So this isn't just about symptoms getting better, is it? It sounds like a fundamental shift in how they view themselves and their potential for a different future.
Exactly. That's a huge part of it. The rapid, tangible changes allowed participants to articulate this dualism between self and brain. It's a fascinating cognitive step.
Okay, what does that mean? Dualism between self and brain.
Well, Reese explained it really compellingly. I didn't need to be fixed. My brain needed to be fixed. And ketamine fixed my brain. See the separation?
Yeah.
And Kit shared a powerful metaphor. My brain was dead, but with ketamine, it somehow came back online. This idea, the study calls it the neuroplastic self, is incredibly powerful. For listeners, neuroplasticity is just the brain's amazing ability to reorganize itself, form new connections based on experience or, in this case, intervention.
Right. The brain changing itself.
Exactly. Ketamine seems to kickstart that process. It's not just feeling better. It might be enabling actual structural and functional shifts in the brain. This allows patients to quite literally rewire their perception of themselves and their relationship with their illness.
So it's biological change enabling psychological change.
That seems to be the experience. By understanding the illness as a brain problem, not a core personal failing, they could separate their identity from the depression. This was huge. It allowed them to imagine a future free from its grip, fostering both real hope and actual motivation to engage with life again.
They could see themselves as okay, even if their brain needed help.
Precisely. And ketamine provided that help, creating a biological basis for psychological transformation. It fostered this profound sense of agency, allowing them to envision a life not defined by past struggles.
Wow. This exploration into ketamine's paradox of hope really underscores the incredibly complex human experience behind these medical innovations. We've seen how a treatment, hailed externally as hope, meets people at their absolute lowest point and fundamentally reshapes their understanding of time, who they are, and what hope even means. It's quite a journey.
It really is. And it's such a profound reminder that the path to well-being is so deeply personal, rarely straightforward, and often requires us to rethink our basic assumptions about illness and recovery. This study just powerfully highlights how crucial patient perspectives are for understanding what truly counts as progress and healing.
Absolutely. And as we move forward, with new mental health treatments and continue these important conversations, it really makes you wonder, how can we, as a society, as a healthcare system, better bridge that gap? The gap between the scientific promise of medicine and the deeply personal lived realities of those who desperately need it.
That's the critical question.
How do we make sure that hope isn't just a clinical term, but a truly tangible, evidence-based possibility for everyone who needs it?
A vital thought to keep considering.
Well, thank you for joining us for this really insightful discussion. We hope it sparks some new thoughts and perspectives for you out there. Until next time, keep those brains buzzing.